Here we go. And it is 6:36. We are going to reconvene our meeting of July 19th, 2023. We started today's meeting at 5:30. We had a closed camera session, as you can see up here on the board, to discuss some personnel items and some other miscellaneous tasks. We came out of closed at 6:26. And we had a recess, and we have some motions arising from the closed session. So comment first, Mr. Gordon.
I was going to give a motion unless Heather wants to regarding the communication of the good news of our water works. That
You give that one.
all right.
I'll give the parking.
Councillor
Okay,
Gordon.
I'll make the motion that council directs administration to provide the update for Mr. Beaton regarding the tremendous work our public works team has done regarding the water loss and fixing that they've done in the last 5 months. Something like we were at a 53% water loss and we're down at 36%. So
17%.
they found a 17% reduction, and I just want to make sure that the public is aware of that. So if we could either have that, I'd love to see that in our next newsletter that goes out with our utility bills.
So just a simple motion that we release that information.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Thanks.
Thank you. And
We'll do the next one.
one sec, Ms. Middleton, I think that's a great recommendation by Councillor Gordon to add a paragraph to our next mayor's newsletter. Make sure that we capture that along with utility bills when they go out. So
Yeah,
it's a good.
so that would be in September. We'll have our newsletter.
Deputy Mayor.
Okay, I'll give you a second motion coming out of close. The council rescind motion, or excuse me, the council rescind resolution to be determined made on April 6th of 2022 regarding the parking on First Ave Northeast. This motion is in regards to the no parking signs that we're gonna have placed on that road. We are going to postpone the placement of any parking signs until we get some feedback. And we're gonna allow our public works manager to decide what's appropriate.
This friendly amendment, should we put in the former Black Diamond, just in case the public is wondering where this might be?
Friendly amendment.
And just for those in attendance or listening at home, that is what I like to refer to as the Rona Road. There you go.
Yeah.
So there you go. And we're gonna look at, as Deputy Mayor Kelly suggested, we're gonna look at a business case on potentially widening and professionally paving that road. It's in pretty rough shape, so could be a year or two out, but we gotta look at it just from the condition of it right now. So that's why you're seeing this motion up here right now. Any further comments? Seeing none, all in favor? And that is carried. Jack Goodbye. This one's you taking that. What do we got there? The council. TJ. Are we doing that one now? Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
All right, who wants that one?
Don't jump on it.
Oh, I haven't.
I can
Go
do
ahead,
it.
Heather.
The council agreed to appoint TJ Moore as fire chief for the town of Diamond Valley, rescinding all prior fire chief appointments for the towns of Black Diamond and Turner Valley.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome, DJ.
We got a vote. All in favor?
Bingo.
And with that being said, thank you for coming to Diamond Valley. You're gonna have lots of work ahead of you, but we really appreciate you coming in. Your boisterous personality is gonna be well received, I'm sure. So we look forward to working with you. So thank you for having me. Thank you. All right, that's the three motions coming out of closed.
Is Councillor Holiday voting vocally or on the screen?
Oh, you didn't see the wink?
I did not.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, she comes down and she gives a new wink and then she blinks away. It's kind of like a cigarette, like it's really fast, right? Cindy, are you?
Yeah, I'm here. I was just going to vote. If I was opposed, I was going to chime in. But I guess I probably should just, proper protocol would be for me to vocally do something. So I'll do that going forward.
Sure, sounds good. We only have about 17 or 18 motions to make tonight, so each one with 15 to 20 minutes of debate. We should be good. Okay, here we go. So motions from closed is done. Can I get a motion for the minutes of the regular council meeting held June 21st? Veronica Kloiber, councillor, gives us that. Any errors, omissions? Hazel, look
No.
good?
Looks really good.
Hazel says good, we're good. All in favor? That's
In
carried.
favor.
Thank you, Cindy. Okay, question period. We have the most on record in 4 years. There you go. Here we go. Question period is a section of a time, 15 minutes allotted to the public for questions of clarity to council or administration for just about anything under the sun. And we covered that in the next 4 letters. So I'm not going to waste any time. Which one do you want?
Well, that one should be last probably.
Okay, sounds good. So first we have from Michelle Lindergan. Dear Mayor and Councilors of Diamond Valley, I'm emailing you about agenda item 11.1, the utility rate report that is to be addressed at this regular meeting of council. The report provides 3 options for full cost recovery of water and wastewater. I know that the discrepancies between Turner Valley and Black Diamond rates need to be addressed. That being said, I would ask council to consider that too much of an increase is going to hit hard on a lot of people. Costs are increasing, but incomes are not. All 3 of the options being presented are going to cost taxpayers more money. I would humbly ask that council have the CAO and staff research if there's any way to recover costs at a lower and a longer rate of time to avoid taxpayers being hit with such a large increase. Now, or if there are any grants or programs through the government of Alberta to aid in the hit the taxpayers will endure if any of these 3 options go forward as is. I thank the CAO and staff for the work and recommendations of the report. It is a report that is easy to read and understand from a general member of the public. Thank you for your consideration. It's not really a question, more of a concern, and we definitely will be weighing that particular item tonight in many levels, I'm sure. Okay, we have 2 regarding the pool. Carrie Hamilton says in 3. So I'm going to put all 3 questions out first and then we'll start addressing them. Why does the pool not stay open later on weekends? Question mark. How can a local person get a job at the pool? Question mark. And why are there no fun activities run at the pool? Question mark. 4, sorry. Are there other options being considered for the 2024 operations of the pool? Now, I'm going to throw the other pool one in as well because they're all pool related from Cheryl McClellan. Now that the RLSS has taken over Red Cross, why isn't there any more advanced courses being offered at the pool for our future generations? So that's in relation to the training of lifeguards. Right. So, for example, I was mentioning my son Connor has been doing his Bronze Cross in Okotoks, and they had to cancel July's training session because they didn't have enough applicants actually participate. But apparently if you have 1 victim and 1 rescuer, you can actually run the course. So maybe it was just pool time. But we have several questions. Who would like to field them?
So through the mayor, I'm going to allow Ms. LeBlanc to talk about some of the pool questions if she may, or else we will go back and investigate.
Would you like the sheets just to kind of check out this?
Remind me, I've remembered some of them.
Sure.
Thank you very much for the questions. Thank you, CEO Middleton, through the chair. I can address in terms of more or less random order. I do want to address first the staffing issue. So when we contracted with the town of Okotoks, we wanted to ensure that our local youth had an opportunity to be able to apply and become eligible, and not just that, but also be trained into these junior and then senior lifeguard positions. Those opportunities have been provided. I'm not sure of what the uptake is on that. I wasn't prepared, at that level to be able to answer that this evening. But to my knowledge, they've certainly invited and welcomed anybody who did want to apply for it. So local youth, definitely, I would almost say that there's a preference because they're part of the community, and we said that from the very beginning in terms of being able to provide employment opportunities for them. So I'm not quite sure if that's perhaps a perception, and if that's the case, then we may have to advertise that, you know, a little bit more loudly and farther. But I do know that the information had gone through the schools and certainly at the pool itself, and that we've done, you know, in the past, social media campaigns, that type of thing. Also, the town of Okotoks had wanted to introduce a junior lifeguard shadowing type of program whereby they volunteer as shadow lifeguards and learn all about sort of the life and responsibilities of a lifeguard. And that would allow them then to enter into the program and hopefully be able to provide them employment going forward. So we've certainly had several youth in the past that have participated in this. At the moment, I couldn't tell you. I'm not really quite sure if there's anybody locally that had applied or was selected at that moment, because I'm not directly involved in operations at that level. Okay.
Timing, and why are we not open later on the weekends? I've got several ones.
Yeah, that has a lot to do with budget as well. So we had been allocated a certain amount, and we have asked, and if you recall in the past, we have been able to extend those, especially on the hot days. I will circle back with Supervisor Les Quinton to find out if that's been discussed and to see if there is an opportunity to be able to extend it. But to my knowledge, it was partially because of budget. And then, of course, you never know what the weather's going to be like. So hopefully we're able to provide that, especially on the hot days where we can extend it. It may have been also staff availability on short notice, but let me look into it and I can get back to you.
Yeah, that would definitely be appreciated. Councilor Gordon.
I don't know if it's right to ask a question based off of that. May I do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So because this is a contract that we have that will be come up for renewal within the next year, I believe, with the school. That has been a common concern I've heard in the community about the hours that we have. Is there something that we can integrate in? You know, you mentioned it's our budget issue that we have with that. I love swimming later in the evening myself, you know, grew up doing that a lot. So would it be wise for you to take this away and do a business case for us to present back in case we need to increase the budget allocation? Because there seems to be a really big time request in the community for that.
Short term, thank you through the chair. Thank you, Councillor Gordon. I will certainly look into this to see if there's a more immediate solution to this. But long term, absolutely, this is something that we come back during budget discussions.
Yeah, absolutely. Deputy Mayor.
Question about hours of operation. We were searching, this is in regards to the splash park or splash pad, which I believe is run under a similar umbrella.
Right.
Okay, so I Googled the splash park hours earlier this week and I found them to be 9 to 8 every day. A picture that I was able to save, but upon going there on Saturday, they don't open until 12. So Saturday and Sunday, our splash park opens at 12, but Monday to Friday, it opens at 9.
Yeah,
I'm just wondering why we couldn't flip that. We open on Saturday and Sunday at 9 and then perhaps open at 12 o'clock during the week, save some operational costs there. Maybe you could shed some light on that for me, Monique.
not a lot, other than
Okay.
it is tied into staffing levels. So
Okay.
if there's an adjustment in staffing levels, then we can extend those. But again, I will, through the supervisor, be speaking to the staff to see if there's some way of adjusting that, because it shouldn't be so incongruent.
Okay, does the pool not open till 12 on the weekends as well?
Yeah, there are rentals in the morning if there's bookings,
Okay.
and then it opens to the public at noon.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hazel.
Going back to the staffing, and I think this is probably a conversation when we had with the supervisor, probably in the fall, of ways that maybe more of our locals can know when to apply. Because typically I myself never did see anything out, like in the paper, we're hiring for the Turner Valley Pool. There wasn't. So, you know, a lot of these people are only 16 years old. This is their first job. They're not typically going to be watching the town of Okotoks website to see when they can apply.
Understood.
And is there any way that we can have that discussion with the manager or the supervisor? Because I personally would like to see more of our kids on deck, to put it quite politely.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what we're gonna do here, folks. Some good questions here and a lot of question marks afterward. So we're gonna get the straight up answers from Okotoks. We're gonna have budget discussions, of course, coming up as well in September and discuss contracting, but we'll get the actual factual answers and address some of the things that we just heard. Spray Park being one of them. That should be open all the time, as long as the water's running. And we'll send it out. We've got your emails here for Carrie and Cheryl, so we'll send you those replies for those questions with the backup answers. And that should clue off that one. And we'll definitely be looking at the hours of operation for weekends for both Spray Park and pool. Deputy Mayor, we have a fourth question.
Yeah, we got a big one.
This is a big one.
So hang tight. I think I'll read through the whole thing. Typically, so this, if I may speak through Mayor Crane, typically I believe this would come through as an action item, but we didn't have all the information ahead of time. So it's coming more or less as a question, just quote unquote, to get the ball rolling, and it's got to do with the soccer field. So Oilfields Sports Association had an overwhelming amount of applicants this year for registration. So as you could tell, perhaps if you drove some of the side streets this spring, a lot of empty green spaces were being used. Up by the water tower has been a historical spot for soccer fields for U5, U7, U9. But this year they asked if they could use the green space by Riverwood, which was willingly given to them to use, which was great. But if these types of registrations persist, there's going to be a bit of a shortage in green space. Unless you were to use some of our ball diamonds, but that's another conversation. So we're going to look at green space that we have. This comes from William. Sorry, I don't have his last name here. The coordinator?
Yeah.
Yeah, so William sent this into council and it's come through as a question just so that we can start the conversation. I'll read through this, bear with me, it's a page and a half long. And then we can have a brief conversation before we move into a question period. So first of all, I'd like to thank you for all that you already do for the soccer in our community. The U13 to U17s have fantastic facilities, as do the U5s and U7s. The grass is well taken care of, and I know you guys are trying to keep the Gophers under control. I am also really grateful for the accommodations for the new nets at a couple of new places. Your staff are always pleasant to deal with and have been helping during my 4 years coordinating soccer. So why are we here? The facilities available to our U9s and U11s are lacking when compared to the other two age groups. So we'll heading here the current state of things. Historically, CIM, which is the elementary school just down the street from us, has generally given us use of their soccer field for no cost and very little hassle. The issue arises when it comes to care. That field sees extremely heavy use naturally, and the school is constrained on what they can do budgetarily and also with what they can let third parties do, such as themselves. Both Barb Musgrove and William have approached them about field repairs, net relocation within the grounds, and have been told that it is out of their hands, and the school board has declined permission for us to get it repaired. Politics, man. The town gave us permission to set up a block down the street at a nice location in the Riverwood community. The field has served us well during the season, but it does have some issues. There are deep ruts from some of the vehicles. We've used that spot for Canada Day, and the Ian Tyson concert next weekend will be there. About a 2-foot slope from one end to the other exists, and the topsoil could be more thoroughly screened. Given these downsides, the current plan for next year is to move the one set of the nets to the Turner Valley field, double line it with dots to accommodate the smaller field size, and nets for U9s and U11s, and return CIM to them. The issue with the current plan is that the U9s and U11s will be competing for time with the U13s and U17s, and the CIM field will remain rough and sloped. We will see what participation is like next year But this year we had higher numbers than the previous years within this age group. Currently, we are at 41 U7s, which means probably about 3 teams of U9s as the kids advance. The kids in minor soccer go harder than kids in recess, so the CIM field, with its substantial portion of dirt and rocks around the nets and kickoff areas, do pose some hazards to our players, and it means more frequent relinings. And finally, there is a matter of pride. I feel like our U5s and U7s and U13 and U17s fields hold their own against any other towns we play against for the quality of the pitch. Millerville was happy to bring their tots out twice this year for a Jamboree Day, and our facilities at Maplewood were an example. But for hosting the U9s and 11s, those games, ours are lacking when compared to the town we play against. That's partially why the current plan is to have a set of nets at the TV field so that we can use that whenever it is not being used by other teams. But that obviously depends on availability. So here we go. We'll wrap it up in the next couple possibilities. The lot at 3rd Street and 6th has amazing potential, and it's got enough space for 3 or 4 U9, U11. What would be involved? We would need to bring in enough soil and sand to get the fields to level lengthwise. That's all there. I'll just briefly go through this. What soccer provides to a community, facilities, opportunities to play on organized sports together. Parking, he addresses the parking if it's to be on 3 Street, and he thanks us for our time. There is a quote here from a local company in regards to how much that would cost. I'm not sure if it's worthwhile to go over that, but we would have to go through
Budget.
budget, and it'd have to go to tender as well before. And so further to this, and thanks for sitting through that with me, everyone. That was from William. I did speak to Barb Musgrove today on the phone, just to make sure that this was at least brought through as a question, just so that it's on council's radar that there's going to be a need for more facilities in the future. They're not looking to get this thing dumped and ready to go next week. But certainly if we could have something going by the fall so that it had time to settle over the winter, we could look at something for the spring. And I'll pass it back over to the chair. Thanks, Mayor Crane. That's it. Yep.
Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, I appreciate that they written this letter and took the time to do it, and they were able to help them out this summer a wee bit for some of the things. I'd like to see, it's tough because the school board has backed out and isn't taking care of things, so we don't have that joint agreement, I guess, anymore with them. But it would be really nice if they could also come up with a proposal for fundraising to help us out.
Yeah.
With that, because like I wouldn't anticipate that we'd be wanting to put the entire bill, these sports groups. It's nice when they do the fundraising. As we've seen in the recent past, the fundraising for the skateboard park was immense. So to get some help doing that, I think the town appreciates that. To ask the taxpayer to completely foot the bill isn't fair, I don't think. Also, the dry pond on the west side of the fields, that initially was, the intent was for it to be soccer fields. I don't know if anyone's looked at it or not, but this group could look at it. But that dry pond was initially suggested to be a soccer field or soccer fields. But there's another option. I don't know if it's a good option or not, but that was the intent of that.
Never held water, so.
Where is that that you talked about?
Basically right across the street from the location they're talking about, where the,
Oh, just like down from Riverwood?
South from the pump track.
Okay.
Is that like?
yeah, it goes, you know, on the, you know, people could sit on the edges and so another option, but that's just my thing is I would like to see, you know, these kind of groups step up and do some fundraising, and then we would support that in some way. But for the all the residents to the bill, I don't think that that would be a fair.
Because some of them do have some funds.
Yeah.
They do casinos and they have some funds.
Yeah, so anyway,
Yeah.
that's just something that I put forward.
That's for discussion.
Okay, so we'll bring it to budget. And thank you for reaching out to them today to just vet them, make sure that they weren't asking for the moon and they're good at being patient.
Well, and if I may speak to that, I think part of that, the initial discussion with Barb was, you know, we'd be looking to town for some funding, and I said, well, we'd be looking to the organization for some structure, exactly what you said, right? And I brought up the exact point of the skate park. I said, we've got a gentleman here in town who owns Rolick and raised almost $250,000 in a few years, which is 20% of what you're potentially asking for here. And so there needs to be a conversation with, I said, optimally, we'd like you to come in as a delegation and present to us and give us, you know, here's our strategic plan. This is what we anticipate bringing in. We have no idea. With additional registrations come additional dollars. And so if you're going to be asking for more resources from the town, I think that you have to come to us with a business case a little bit. So I express those desires to Barb and anticipate in the coming meetings that we'll have a sit down with them.
Excellent. Councillor Gordon, wrap us off and then we're gonna move on.
Yeah, very quickly, I love the recreational needs of our town. Obviously, as we grow, we're gonna see more of that, in fact, quite a bit more. So I'm just wondering if you have numbers from O'Leary just to do the work on that site.
I do, but don't vocalize it in case it ever goes out to tender.
Okay, yeah, no, I totally.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if
No,
it
that's
was
fine.
or not.
That's what I was asking that is, I really would like to see this on our radar for the 2024 capital budget.
Yeah.
To see how we can support Oilfield Sports Association. I love the idea of having them collaborative work with the funding. I think that's essential for our community. But recreation, kept hearing it the last several years on Campaign Trail. We need more of it in town. So if we can get, if they're obviously interested, so how we can support them soon would be my ideal.
Yeah, great following. Okay, excellent. And that closes off question period. So again, ladies who submitted, we will give you emails with detailed information, and Ms. Lundgren, we will be debating the utility rate increase and take that into consideration. And we will move on in our agenda if everybody is okay. We're good. I'm gonna actually hand these down to CAO Middleton. You can stick handle those accordingly. Yeah, destroy them. All right. Moving on to delegation. 8.1 off leash park, Mr. Jeff Roswell.
General, I'm your finger test calling. I need copy.
That's supposed to be on silent.
That's a pizza. He doesn't know the rules.
Jeff, you can come on up here, have a seat. You just gotta say your name. Oh, did you? Name and address, and you have 5, 10, or 15 minutes, depending on how far you want to go. But at 15, I'm definitely gonna move on because we have a huge agenda, and I don't think we're gonna take 15 minutes. But we'll see. The floor is yours.
My name is Jeff Rowe. And I'm here tonight about the off-leash dog park at Hall Park. About the waste. So. The waste is always left behind the dogs. Nobody's picking it up. As soon as you enter the dog off-leash park, get 50 feet in, there's 30 piles. Off on the side, in the bushes, everywhere. Well, these organized. Okay, so here are some of the illnesses and infections, organisms that can come from dog waste, biologically dog food. Roundworms, Salmonella, Eli, Cholera, gonorrhea, the parvo, and another bacteria. These are harmful to the humans and pets and any of the animals in these parks, as well as our waterways and fish, which there has not been left unattended for over 10 years since our floods. So none of this has been picked up in the off-leash areas. I'm here to close down the off-leash area to the public until there has been a review of the property that is in use, changes to the bylaws need updated, enforcement needed to be enforced and stepped up. More maintenance done by Parks and Rec. More garbage bins as well as recycling bins, because there's no recycling bins in these park areas. Because you guys have upgraded that off-leash park area with 30-some plus odd parking spots, which have doubled, tenfold of people and the use of that parking lot. The garbage can in one of your bylaws states that the smell of that is actually in your bylaws stinky when you enter that park. So you need to update the land use bylaws. You need to add bins, more garbage bins. They need to be emptied more often because they're always full, especially in all your parking lots. Because everybody's taking their garbage out of their cars and putting it in bins. Which is frankly, when you want to throw some dog shit in the bins, it's fucking full. Excuse me, pardon my language. The feces, more of the feces and contaminants to our waste source water. New laws for around the waterways is what we need. There is no signage anywhere for the designation of this is a park, dog park, or off-leash area, because everyone thinks it's okay not to pick up waste and trespass on property that is not allowed, that's not theirs or owned by the town. Public needs to wake up and the public needs to be educated on this. Because this is outright disgusting. I see it through the town, I see it on pathways, I see it in the other parks over by the campground. Just off on the side of the thing. Dog bags laying there, not picked up, not put in bins, the bins are way too full, everything. This is throughout our whole entire town, just not in these areas. People are on the website for Diamond Valley saying dogs are entering into the into the playgrounds in our sports fields, which they're not allowed in the city of Calgary. On golf courses and cemeteries, which our cemetery is not close enough, but. And a lot of these dogs in the off-leash area are getting loose away from their owners and running amok across a few paths over, laying their excrements on the ground, and those are not even being picked up. This is like 10+ years since the floods. This has gone unnoticed. There's not have been any law enforcement. My wife has actually physically seen a lady holding dog bags and her dog taking shit and not picking it up. I literally have seen it myself as well. And nobody and everybody disregards town property and public property. And I'm here to try to enforce the closure of this park. I know that you guys are talking about, let's get more parks for more people on their soccer fields. I want to close this park down. I need to know how much waste is in this park because of the contaminants and bacteria that it's going to cause. Because once it dries out, it becomes a fertilizer that is harmful to the environment, the food sources, all this stuff. From not picking it up, it's harmful. Once it gets into the air, it can cause illnesses and sicknesses to everybody that visit that park. I have seen kids, young kids, people without dogs visiting that park and going down to the river. I have seen lots of people use that park, and the increase of the use of that park has tenfold. My property on my vehicles have dust on them day in and day out. The amount of vehicles that go down that road and down my road to get there is increased.
Okay. Council, comments?
Like, I guess at one time there used to be a Friends of the Dog Park. Is that true?
I'm not too sure.
Because I just wonder, you know, if there's a group like that that can start helping us to kind of monitor, they're down there, you know, maybe reminding.
Well, you know what? There is nothing. As I sit here and speak to you guys, I have not even come up with a solution. I haven't come up with anything. The order for the, you gotta pick up your dog crap.
Have you ever seen enforcement down there?
No enforcement, no law enforcement, no parks, no rangers, no nothing. This town has no park ranger or nothing. This town has a couple bylaw officers. They don't even park their vehicle down there just to go for a quick little walk down to the river.
Maybe that's something we can make it.
Like, law enforcement needs to step up, and you guys need to enforce this stuff.
But I'm glad you're bringing it forward to us.
Well, I want to close that park down, and the reason why I want to close that park down is I want to put awareness to the public saying, hey, pick up your crap, and the only way to do that is something serious. Like close a park, close it down without any discussion, just do it. Be done over with it. Put no parking signs and put on there, if you trespass, $1,000 fine. Serious thought has to go into this because nobody wants to pick up the waste. I'm a dog owner. I pick up my own dog waste. I live in the town of Black Diamond, and I have a neighbor that disregards the bylaws. And our bylaws don't have anything for breeding rights. So if you're breeding dogs left, right, and center, the smell of that gets into other people's yards and that stuff. I can't even go in my backyard and pick the Saskatoons without smelling dog feces, Indian crap.
Have you brought that up to?
No, I haven't brought that up, but they know that enforcement has gone to their place about it because something was brought up on some website that you guys got that is discreet and everything. But I think, you know what? I'll sign my name for that. Come to my house, complain to me. I'll rub your nose in the dog food. I'll bring the dog food here if you want. I'll lay it on this damn table for you. I'm sick of it. That's why I'm here tonight. If you guys can't listen, then there will be other actions taken because I will get, there is other access of information out there. Like for the breeding programs, they actually have OH&S health people come out and close down breeding facilities if they don't keep them up clean. I can bring those people in and force you guys to close that dog park. What I want, close it now, look at all the bylaws we have, look at Calgary's bylaws, look and enforce the enforcement to go out there and fine people. Bring up the fines. I don't care. If that doesn't work, then something else has to. But something has to be drastic.
Sure, Veronica?
I'm fine to agree with our delegation center. It's not an ideal space for an off-leash dog park because there's so much cover. And
That's,
wants to crawl into the underbrush to pick up after their critters. The other dog parks I've seen, they're just a mowed fenced field and it's pretty obvious where your dog's going.
yes.
So I do think we need, it is disgusting.
Deputy Mayor Kelly has the Black Diamond Off Leash Park here, Facebook site, 834 members. Are you a member of that?
Yes.
That would be the first spot you would want your campaign if you were wanting to really move forward with shutting down the park.
And that was again?
Black Diamond Off Leash Park.
Yes.
It's about awareness and education.
Yes.
It's not about making a giant stump.
But this is town property.
Yep, it is. And what we can do is we can get some more signage. I agree with you there. We don't have a lot of signage. We can definitely add more bins. But it's baby steps. It's not
Yeah.
giant leaps.
I didn't ask for baby steps. I only asked for you guys to listen and then
That's right.
We'll look at this down the road and try to come up with some solution.
Yes, so more signage and more garbage bins is the first step in the right direction. Would that be about right?
Can we also ask for some enforcement?
Well, we absolutely can. We don't need to debate and solve that
No.
here now. We thank you for your presentation. We're gonna weigh out all pros and cons of that as we move through our budget and our discussions. That would then influence how much we're gonna put into garbage, how much we're gonna put into signs, how much enforcement we want, what kind of tax penalty that's gonna bring, what do the fines look like. But in the meantime,
But maybe there is some bins that we could, maybe.
maybe there is, but we don't need to debate that tonight, is what I'm saying, right? We got a big agenda. Thank you
Yes,
for your
I-
presentation.
I never like an email.
Perfect, we can do that. Excellent. All right, thank you. And that was 15 minutes on the nose. There you go. All right, next up, delegation, we have, Cap. Come on down. Good to see you again, sir. And do we have anything going up on the big screen?
If Mr. Capullo wants it, I have some information if he wants it on the board.
Okay, otherwise, Cap, the floor is yours. 15 minutes, please. Excellent. Go ahead.
Honorable Mayor Cincinnati, Deputy Mayor Mr. Bankali, other member of council, and the staff members. I would like to thank you very much for inviting me again to say something in favor of my project, which has not been voted on that in favor. Last meeting was held on 17th of June, wherein proposal was along with the site plan was submitted on the table of the house. And presentation was given by the planning officer. I was also given an opportunity to explain about my proposal, but I didn't say much because proposal was positive. It was well explained by the town office. Thereafter, there was a session, public hearing session, and in that session there are some resentments or complaints, or I would say concerns of the general public, those who are my neighbors in the property. So I have gone through all those things. I highlighted that there were three main problems they had in their complaints. One was storm drainage, river flooding into the adjacent neighborhood. Other was increased traffic flow, parking on the streets. And the third was lighting issues. I was very positive that everything was fine and we voted in favor, but it was turned down. Then I decided to request, I requested Mr. Kelly, Veronica, John to take it to the council again to explain my situation. How we have already addressed all those problems the neighbors have. If you allow me, I will explain one by one.
Absolutely.
First and foremost was storm drainage and river flooding to the adjacent neighborhood because of the property we will construct over there. So in this regard, I would like to explain that we are having a property, the other property is also in frontage, everybody knows. Any development on those properties cannot be go through unless we will follow the guidelines of the Alberta Environment Flood Inundation Mapping. For that, we have to elevate the property first. And we have gone through a lot of exercises with the town, and our architecture also found some information. This property will go 1 meter, at least 1 meter above the street level. So I don't think that the property we are building will cause any flooding into the area. The reason is town has already done a lot of flood major works on the river. The river bed is already wide enough to hold more waters. I think there is no chance of flooding, but we don't trust the Mother Nature. Mother Nature can bring the floods anytime. But I tell you one thing, anytime the flood comes here in this area, the properties which have not been elevated according to the Alberta Environment Flood Index mapping, they will be flooded again. For sure, they will be flooded again. If they are asking me to build the property on the same pattern, which is not possible with government directions will not allow me to do it. We have to elevate the property first 1 meter high, then we have to build our plan there, right? Since there is no stormwater drainage on the street to tie into, the site is elevated yesterday. We have two entries on the site. One is south side, other is the east side. And both have upslopes, both sides. Upslopes are there, and that will go to the elevation, required elevation. Stormwater, there is no stormwater drainage, but the water will flow down to the street. And then there's a 24-inch storm drain which drains to the river. That water will go there. Stormwater problem is solved. I think there's no issue that stormwater will go into the flooding to the neighborhood. There's no logic behind it. Second thing is, lighting issues.
Can I just ask you a quick question, Kevin?
Yes, sir.
Are you referring to the 24-inch stormwater main that presently exists, or are you talking about one that you would put in?
Presently exists.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So it will go there and that leads the water to the river. It's already there. So the next is the issue is increasing traffic and flow of parking on the street. Regarding this, I would like to explain that there are measures put into place to make the roads safer and easier for the pedestrians. There is existing playground signage for reduced vehicle speed and community policing enforce these laws of the roads. Furthermore, we are also providing sidewalk for the community there on our expense. And that will help for the safety of the pedestrians to walk on the road, sir. Some of the residents, they have concern that our children play on the roadside. So, sir, this is not, if unsupervised children are playing the road, there is no solution for that. You have to supervise the kids there. And the fourth thing is, I would say the council has thinking to approve the previous plan, which is already approved of there. That plan is 33 units of housing. So I don't know how the problems discussed by the community will be addressed to in that case. I couldn't understand because 33 units means we have more housing units, more traffic, more lighting issues. However, in case of my proposal, commercial development and with little bit of residential users, overall disturbance on the street will be less. Also, majority of the vehicle traffic coming from Highway 2 will be going back to the Highway 2. They will not disturb the First Avenue office. But what is the lighting issues? So there is a lighting requirement when we develop some properties. As per Alberta building codes, we have to light the sidewalks and parking areas. The lightings in these areas are directional lightings. They don't throw any beam to the other properties. They are directional lighting toward the pathways or the parking areas. So if the neighbors think that lighting will have disturbance, then we can grow some trees on that site as a screening. That will help a lot. So in the answer, I would like to pray that we have a project with you and we have tried our best to address all problems neighbors. We are flexible also. If they don't want childcare, which will gather more and more time there, we will strike it out. We can bring something else there. Not a problem. So investment is ready. One step away, sir. If you want, we pray. Approve the check, we'll start the work on it. That's my plan.
Thank you, Ken. Hold on, you might have some questions. Questions for Cap? Clarity? Questions for planning?
So are you looking at building 33?
No,
How many units?
we have 8 to 10 units on the floor, on the second floor. But on the bottom, there are commercials. Only couple of commercials,
So how much space altogether?
10,000 square feet. Our idea is to bring the dollar store there,
Oh,
which is a dire need of the town,
move your store?
The dollar store.
dollar
Oh,
store.
I'm sorry, pardon me.
I'm not moving my store. We will make a warehouse for our store because we have a shortage of room.
Thank you.
Anybody?
A lot of questions, not sure which one to ask.
Well, I've got a comment.
Well, we got a few minutes, so if you want clarity on anything, otherwise this is development issue, right? So.
Yeah. So with the original DC, I guess I'll ask this one, it's 33 residential units, correct?
Yes, sir.
Was there, in the last several months that you've been working with planning, and maybe planning can provide the answer here, was there a way to look at that original plan and put in some commercial units alongside with that 33? So that it wasn't a major overhaul, such as what CAP is proposing now? So that, because I understand your major request for commercial is primarily, correct me if I'm wrong, to have your warehouse.
We want to make the unit viable.
Yeah,
So, because we have to construct a retaining wall on the sides also. And then we have to, like, the elevator, like, there is expense on it.
Yeah.
So if only we construct the residence only, it's not going to be viable for us, because cost of construction is very high. Rent is not compatible with that.
So just so we're clear, on the June 17th meeting, all council decided was that we would retain the direct control rather than passing it over to administration to run the commercial district,
I don't want to.
right? So we didn't say no, it's just we want to make sure that we're involved in this development on every level to make sure that we're getting what we need. And there's a process to that under a direct control bylaw needs to be written. Rod, would you mind just explaining what is involved with a DC controlled development? Just Paul's notes.
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. So direct control, land use bylaw can assign a parcel to be under the direct control of council. And then the council becomes the development and subdivision authority for land that is assigned direct control. And then council can outline in a bylaw what form of development it feels is appropriate on those lands. And lots of different forms that these direct control bylaws take. They can be very specific and they can be fairly general. They can retain. Council can be the sole development authority for everything that occurs on the parcel. It can also be drafted in a way so that council outlines what the general intent is for those lands and then gives the administration, assigns the administration to be the development authority operating within those overall guidelines that council sets. Ultimately, it's a custom crafted land use district for one parcel that council, the council approves, and then how it works depends on the details of how council wants to regulate it.
Just to work there.
Thank
That's
you.
how. So you would like to move forward then with the commercial and residential?
Yes.
That's what I'm hearing. All right, any other questions for Kat? All right, thank you for clarifying for us tonight. We'll be back to you at a later date
Sure.
and let you know if you talk to Todd and see where we go from there.
Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you, Dirk.
Thanks, Cap.
Thanks for coming in. Thank you. All right. Bylaws and policies. Here we go.
Boring stuff.
9.1, bylaw 2023-22 to amend land use bylaw 2021-06. I think this is straightforward. If you read the background,
Is this the?
it's the doctor's medical service building.
You see it right away, buddy.
It's just a redistricting here. Yeah.
You already have the sign up.
Rod, do you want to speak to it and we'll set that motion?
Just briefly, Mr. Mayor, the property is at 112 First Avenue Southwest. The property is currently districted industrial. The application is to redistrict it into Central Business District, which is consistent with all the other properties in the block. The application is for the bylaws being brought forward for first reading to set a public hearing date. Full report will be presented to the council at the time of the public hearing. We are proposing that the public hearing be held. There's no date provided in this.
First reading, right?
Yes, so the first motion would be to grant first reading, and then the following motion would be to set a date for a public hearing.
Veronica? I would.
The council will give first reading to bylaw 2023-22 to amend land use bylaw 2021, chapter
06.
06.
Thank you. Destiny, good. Any debate on that?
Not at all.
Pretty straightforward.
Not at all.
All in favor? That's good.
In favor.
Thank you. For a public hearing, Ms. Verna, I'll go to you 2 weeks from now or
So meeting is the 16th of August.
August? So we'll set it for that. Veronica?
That council directed administration to hold a public hearing for bylaw 2023-22 and to provide notice of the public hearing as per advertising bylaw 2023-12 for August 16th, 2023. It's 2023.
Very nice. Very nice. Well done. Excellent. All in favor?
I,
And that is carried.
In favor.
As well. Thank you, Cindy. We'll get that out in the paper twice between now and then for advertising.
that's listed in the bylaw. So we kind of take care of it already, just very short, yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you. 9.2 bylaw 2023-26 rescinding bylaw. Just housekeeping.
Yeah, it's housekeeping.
I'll give you
Councillor
the first reading, or, council give bylaw 2023-26, a rescinding bylaw first reading.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, favor? Hazel keeps looking at
In
me in the
favor.
corner waving and I'm like, I don't know if she's wanting to talk or if she's voting prematurely.
You want to do the motion?
So.
Yeah.
You want?
Give the next motion.
Oh, I see. Okay, there you go.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's good. All right, 1 second.
Page 32B.
Okay, we're on action items. 10.1.
I know, we got it.
Where are you at? Oh, sorry. Yep, there you go.
So,
Go ahead.
no, Hazel wants to give this.
Oh, Hazel.
That
Now I see what you're saying.
the council gave bylaw 2023-26 second reading.
You want to say that again?
2023-26 second reading.
All right, there you go. All right, all in favor? I'll give the council
favor.
to present, thank you, Cindy, to present bylaw 2023-26 for third reading at this time. All in favor?
In favor.
Thanks, Cindy, and go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
The council give bylaw 2023-26 third and final reading.
Any further debate? Seeing none, all in favor? And
In favor.
Cindy. 10.1, update on solid waste rates. I'm gonna hand this one off to CAO Middleton to give us the Coles Notes version. And tell us what the hit is.
So thank you, Mr. Mayor, through the chair and council. So, we signed an agreement in September of 2022 with the town of Okotoks, and that agreement is, has a number of kind of stepping points at which time the rates will be adjusted for our solid waste. As of right now, we have not adjusted them for the community. So I wanted to give, council just a bit of an update that during the budget deliberations, we will be incorporating some of these adjustments, which we do not have any control over. They're passed down from the town of Okotoks. I would like to mention that part of this is we've been also charged a fuel surcharge through the town of Okotoks, which they're currently investigating how that calculation has been derived. So they're kind of disputing it a little bit as well, but they have offloaded those costs correspondingly onto us. So when you look at the chart that's included on page number 38, currently our monthly charge for garbage, we are billing residents $10.40. We are paying for 2023, we are paying $9.88. So we're currently in a favorable variance there of 52 cents. So that one is not so much of an issue. When we move down to organics and recycle, and I think we kind of anticipated that there could be some changes as we determine what the tipping fees for sure were going to be, because we didn't have a real concrete idea. We had a bit of an estimate. So the tipping fees we've kind of solidified as well. What you will see is with both organics and recycle, we have a fuel surcharge. So effective January 1, 2023 to July 31st, we are looking at a rate of $5.25 for organics. That is set to go up effective August 1st. As well, we have a processing fee and we have a fuel surcharge fee. So you'll notice that in 2022, the organics was $8.06. There was a calculation error, so we received a credit back, but it wasn't specifically for any of the services. So that would be used to offset the services for organics and recycle. But effective January 1st, we're looking at organics costing $6.95. Effective August 1st, it's going to be $7.26, and we are currently on a monthly basis, the cost to the resident is $6.10. So we have an unfavorable variance there of $1.16. When it comes to the recycle program, once again, you'll notice January 1st, we're looking at $6.42. Effective August 1st until July 31st, 2024, that rate is going to increase to $6.73. So we currently, the residents are paying $6.05. So both our organics and our recycle programs are operating at a deficit. Now, in the interim, until the 2024 budget, these are costs that we can absorb within our budget. But I just wanted to bring it to council's attention that in the budget deliberations coming up, there will be a need to adjust. We're not quite sure what that surcharge is going to look like. We are trying to get some clarity from the town of Okotoks because the calculation and methodology is a bit challenging to understand. But as it stands, I just was wanting to provide an update. This is what the programs are costing us. And now that we are into it for a year, and we have an agreement with the town of Okotoks, which extends until 2024. So we will begin to renegotiate that sometime in the later part of next year.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Gordon to begin, and Cindy, let us know if you want in on this one.
No, thanks very much for bringing this forward and making it clear with your charting system here. Question I do have, the overall cost, is it based on per resident? and per commercial, it's not commercial pickup, it'd be just residential. So do they take an overall cost and break it down per resident?
To answer your question through Chair, and certainly Craig step in at any time. They give us a breakdown of all of the components that I've listed in here by bins. So they have the number of bins they service. They provided that to us on a monthly basis. The surcharge, they're providing that per bin basis. And then we also incorporate into our cost, the cost of landfill. So there's a cost with everything that goes to landfill. We pay a cost there as well as a compost fee. So the town of Okotoks is very good at breaking it down by bin. So how many bins they service and what the cost is per bin. And then they have a processing fee, which is attached to that, and that's divided by the number of bins as well.
So the reason I asked that, so it is per bin. So even as we grow, it doesn't necessarily lower the overall cost because it stays by bin.
It would not, I would suggest it would not lower the overall cost unless you get economies of scale based on the number of times you go to landfill.
Well, I'll keep it on the floor. Thank you for those questions. Anyone else for comment? I think we're being very well serviced by Okotoks is my comment. And the fact that they do lay all the information on the table in detail for us to sift through if we so choose is why I really like it, because there's an ultimate transparency with this contract with Okotoks. Whoever's sitting on landfill, which I think is Councillor Martin. As you know, I sat on that as well. They just project increases in landfills 10 years out, $2 a year. They just write it in. It's not even up for question. And that's just being nice. I can only imagine with the inflation, if there's adjustments that they have to make, but they build that in every year, year over year, automatically. So this is a very minimal increase for a fantastic service, I think, that we've had for the last couple of years. So that's my comment.
And if I may, through the mayor, just to reiterate, so the first part of the year, like our program kind of changes a little bit because in the winter months, we don't have organics picked up as much. So there is a chance that coming into the end of the year, the organic cost will go down. So this is kind of that average I see. And so, you know, we might see some modifications, some changes over the course of the next few months, but the fee for the service will definitely be increasing. It's just that tipping fee and the surcharge could be that variable.
I got Merton, then I have Deputy.
How will you be communicating this to our residents? Because I think they're going to need to have some lead time.
If I may answer through the chair, great question, Councillor Martin. So there's always an opportunity and we really want to engage residents as we go through the budget process. So as we go through the budget process and we start to incorporate some of these adjustments or potential adjustments, there'll certainly be an opportunity for residents to really be informed and to have an opportunity to have a discussion over some of these rate changes.
And how will that be? Like, is it just going to be through a newsletter? Is it going to be surveys?
Once again, we have a public participation bylaw that we utilize, so there is an opportunity for council to determine how they want to engage the public. So it could be through those methods that you've discussed, media, it could be survey, it could be having, in the past, we've actually had opportunities to have coffee with council so they can communicate and talk about the budget with residents. So there's a number of mechanisms that if council desires, they can utilize to communicate these changes with the public.
Thank you.
Ben?
You can.
Kind of half answered my question, CEO Middleton. Just in regards to, so since we implemented this, and I have to echo Mayor Crane's point, it's been a great service. I think that the community has adapted well to it. Couple initial bumps, but beyond that, it's been great. What I've really noticed is that I'm only putting my garbage out once a month. My recycling goes out every week and it's full. My compost, not so much. But is there a trigger that would encourage Okotoks to say, hey, look, we're not really collecting that much waste anymore? Maybe we need to do waste every other week like we were doing compost during the winter. I don't know if there's anything that we could look at, or if there's any encouraging factors from Okotoks or from us that would say, look, have we noticed a big difference? Because I certainly have, and I'm just one resident.
That's where some public engagement would be helpful. Craig?
Thank you, through the chair. So in my communications with our operator, through Okotoks, there is a public engagement initiative that Okotoks wishes to pursue and sort of champion through Diamond Valley. They're a little disappointed in the uptake of recycle and organic materials. So although there are many of us that are seeing, myself included, that I'm only putting out waste once a month, there are still a number of residents that are filling their waste. And so we're still seeing a large volume of waste over recycle and organic. So I do understand Okotoks is working to find a communication specialist to work in the waste division so they can work with their partners to engage the communities for education purposes. So there is an interest by our partner to help us increase our organics and recycle uptake. But you're right, if we can reduce our waste services, then it would offset our costs.
Right.
Yeah. That's the feel. Yeah. Thank you.
That's the thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, well, I look forward to getting that educational background started and doing some public engagement, because I do have friends who refuse to use recycling or organics, as they just say, I couldn't be bothered. And that's just the way they are, so.
Well, we had, to that point,
You know.
I sat in on it earlier when they were about to implement it, and they said that all the trucks are outfitted with cameras and they can actually see what's being dumped at each residence, and in Calgary, they'll find perpetual, hey, you're not recycling. Here's the coin for you.
We have that in place. We haven't used this.
Yeah. So Okotoks has that ability.
I'll give us that motion then.
Please do, sir.
That council direct administration to begin work on the new bylaw of the town of Diamond Valley to establish and regulate the collection, disposal, and handling of waste, recyclable and compostable materials within the town of Diamond Valley, and incorporate the revised rates as set out in the agreement with the town of Okotoks. The bylaw would be effective January 1st of 2024.
Thank you, sir.
End of the dissertation.
Any comments, further comments? Seeing none, all in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. All right, let me see. We're at slope stability assessments. We handed on to Mr. Ross, I'm assuming CAO.
Yes, through the chair, yes.
Slope stability assessment. Tell us all about it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an item that had to be brought forward to council due to a bit of a quirk in the town of Black Diamond land use bylaw. This item involves a development permit application involving a property at 100 3rd Avenue Northwest. It's to describe where it's located. It's at the north end of Government Road, where Government Road terminates and turns into a pathway. It's a property just located to the west of that pathway, largely undeveloped, save for a couple of accessory buildings and a large garden. Most of it's flat. Most of it's flat and in the flood risk area, according to the current 1992 mapping. And then there's a fairly steep slope at the south end. There's an application has been made to develop a single family dwelling on the escarpment on the slope. And So that application is being reviewed by the planning staff. But there is a policy in the land use bylaw that states that any, so to get to the point, the land use bylaw restricts any development on slopes exceeding 15%. And requires that development be set back from a slope that exceeds 15% by 30 meters. However, those restrictions can be relaxed by the development authority. And let's kind of quote the land use bylaw. It's section 8.223 of the land use bylaw, and notwithstanding the previous sections, the setback provisions may be varied, provided that an engineer's report outlining slope stability is acceptable to council. So if the land use bylaw puts council in the position of having to accept a slope stability or a geotechnical study, which I think council's really equipped to do, but
No kidding.
No.
Jim, you might be here.
That wasn't across the bow.
That was a broad strike right there.
Free to say whatever.
Well, I'm going home, Mayor.
He's done in 9 days. What have you done? So, it was this council in its review of the slope stability study. We had MPE Engineering review the study, and they outlined some conditions under which development of, the development on the slope is to proceed. They outlined some requirements for how that's to proceed, mainly that the development proceed under the supervision of an engineer, and that construction be reviewed by an engineer at certain steps. So council's not being asked to act as the development authority. This item will be brought forward to the planning commission to make a determination on as to whether the development is suitable and whether the relaxation not be granted. The development authority will be looking at, access and servicing and kind of broader planning considerations. All council is being asked to do in this is to accept the geotechnical report that has been submitted, and as I said, the engineering did not identify any concerns with the report that has been provided.
Okay, excellent. Councilor Howard.
Thank you, Bruce. There's no bounds, and I will make a motion.
Excellent. Option one. Excellent. Debate. Now you may speak.
No, I was gonna say I considered myself an expert after reading the, I was gonna make the motion, but I will allow.
I would just love to get into the nitty gritty of the placement of the building with no roads and no access, but I guess that's an MPC matter.
Yeah.
They'll have to debate, so otherwise.
Stay your lane.
I'm good, exactly. Hey.
It's gonna be a bundle, and it will be that.
There you go. We got a motion on the floor. Do we have any further debate? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you for
In
that, Rod.
favor.
That was good. Thanks, Cindy.
Well done, Rod.
Yeah. It's on camera. You can record it and show it to
Can
you.
I make a recommendation?
Yes, please.
Fine, we don't have any more council meetings before the end of the month. We're good.
Yeah.
Well done. Okay, on to.
With that being said, Rod, do we have you in the rest of the agenda for anything?
I don't believe I am. The rest of the agenda.
Bye, Rod.
0.
With that being said,
got some candy.
we're not gonna hold you for the rest of the meeting, but we are gonna say, thank you for your years of service. Absolutely. You've served this town for, I don't even know how many years. But I've had personal relationships with you for 10, just from the other side of the river. You've always been a stand-up guy, been a great planner for this town. Diamond Valley's gonna miss you, but we are gonna phone you from time to time and say, hey, what happened with X, Y, and Z?
Now he's gonna change his
So, because it's just open now, You want to become a consultant now and really reel it in, right? But no, sincerely, thank you so much for your service to the team.
Thanks, man.
I mean, Mr. Mayor, it's been a pleasure to serve the town of Diamond Valley and the town of Black Diamond before that. Municipal government, that's where that's the most, they say, the municipal, local government is where it's the most accountable level of government. You respond directly to you hear directly from your constituents and you respond directly to them. And I commend you all for giving up of yourself, giving your time and your dedication to the community. So it's been a real pleasure and honor to work with towns. Awesome. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm gonna stick around and watch you work with your constituents. Everybody on that. One more.
Yes.
Spectators.
That's working and recording. All right, moving on. We still got Rod at the helm. Administration was requesting council, FCSS board. Yes, I will give the motion that we regretfully accept the resignation of Jackie Cassidy. Sorry, Heather, was that your motion?
The mayor wanted to speak.
Yes, that is my motion, and I yes, that's appointed.
It's hot over here.
I'll put that motion forward. The council regretfully accept the resignation of Jackie Cassidy from her member at large position on the FCSS board and request administration to send a letter thanking her for her service to the community. Jackie did a really, really great job for us, and that it is really regretful that she has resigned. We also will have another resignation coming forward. Our board will be sitting at the number that we should be sitting at. So we'll have 5 members now. So, not that that's a great thing because we're losing 2 great numbers. So anyway, that's the motion.
Frees up more time for more public volunteering on other committees. That's how you look at that. Excellent. Any comments? I've worked with Jackie on many different committees and levels and organizations, and she is fantastic. And she might not be on this one, but she will be in the community doing other things. So all in favor? Thank you. That's carried. Proclamation.
You go for this one, dude.
Wait a second.
You got it with you?
I gotta get a hard copy.
You guys are reading there several weird answers.
Can you do this properly or?
Hold on. I haven't even read it, which is the funnest part. Oh, yeah. 10.4 is the proclamation for the Alberta Development Officers Week of 2023.
I will give you that motion.
Oh,
That council proclaims the week of September 19th through 22nd, 2023 as the Alberta Development Officers Week in our town of Diamond Valley.
All in favor of me reading this?
It's an important distinction.
Yes. That's
In favor.
There you go.
You must.
All right.
Just stand very.
Okay, there you go.
First time. You have an audience tonight.
Yes. Whereas a development officer is a current planning and development specialist with the knowledge of current legislation, policy and bylaws, systems and technical requirements for physical development within communities of the province of Alberta. A development officer enforces and administers land use regulations and policies on behalf of the municipality and is designated to the position of development authority by the municipality as defined by the Municipal Government Act RSA 2000 chapter M-26. And whereas the Alberta Development Officers Association, representing professional development officers in Alberta, endorses Alberta Development Officers Week to recognize sound development and planning practices and the contribution made by development officers to the quality of development within your communities and environment. And whereas Development Officers of Alberta's Week helps us to publicly recognize the work of your municipal colleagues in planning and development for the improvement of the town of Diamond Valley. And whereas we recognize development officers and their commitment to public service, and now therefore I, Mayor Barry Crane, do hereby proclaim the week of September 19th to September 22nd, 2023 to be designated as Alberta Development Officers Week in the town of Diamond.
So you got to say that last?
Finish the last part.
Proclaimed this 19th day, July 2023.
Well said.
Aha! That was the first one of many, I hope. I want a proclamation. Every meeting, we need to have one.
No.
No, we don't.
I don't know.
It's
I think you should get $1 for every time you say development in this particular one. That's,
Where at?
or where. Oh, there's many more whereases. It's just 3 days. Yeah. Well, it's development officers, they re-engineered the week
Okay.
to fit their bill.
Getting older.
Okay, here we go. 11.1, the utility rate report.
Here we go.
Okay.
Information.
Yes. you-
Yeah, right. Miss Middleton, I have turned the oven up to 400 and ignited the gas. It's all up to you now. Lead us through the utility rate review, shall we?
So thank you, Mayor Crane, and I'm going to divert this to my colleague, Lisa Zaire, who's done an incredible amount of work on this and is very familiar with our current utility rate structure. And I will support her as she goes through the process, but I'm going to hand it off.
Okay, excellent. Lisa,
Thank you.
over to you.
So as you know, Black Diamond and Turner Valley have very different utility rate bylaws. So in an attempt to bring them together and cover costs, we have determined that we are not recovering costs on either side through both models. So we've presented 3 different models, which you've all had a chance to look at. In the interest of these models, we're focusing on residential. The flat rates used for residential were the highest of each. So Black Diamond's water sewer flat charges, Turner Valley's stormwater. Just in the interest of showing you what that's going to look like. So in each model, the first model was not full cost recovery, is partial cost recovery. The other 2 models are full cost recovery, one using the tiered model, one using a non-tiered model. Also, I'll point out that Black Diamond's fixed rates are based on meter size, so extremely different again from Turner Valley's. So we have more commercial accounts in Black Diamond than Turner Valley does. So I've worked that out as well, but so really, this is just a starting point to give council an idea of what it might look like and that we are behind on full cost recovery. So the models focus on consumption mainly.
So just for a point of clarity quickly. So right here, we have our Turner Valley rate at 69.51, our D rate at 89.88. So this would be present, what we're doing right now, average home.
Yes.
And the 89.88 is not, even now, capturing 100% of cost recovery for what it takes to produce the water, distribute, sewage, and so on.
So your 89.88 plus your consumption charges are not meeting full cost recovery.
Plus your consumption.
Right, so we have the fixed rate.
Yeah.
And then the consumption charges.
Okay, just so we're clear. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
A follow-up to that then, and perhaps you don't have the numbers right now, but obviously if we're not full cost recovery right now, what portion of our property tax is subsidizing these water rates?
Exact.
And I don't fully expect you to have that, but I would like to have that as part of our full review. Because obviously if we're subsidizing our water rates right now through the property taxes, we should then see in 2024 a decrease in our property tax if we go full cost recovery route. So that's why I'm asking that question.
So if I might comment through the chair, Councilor Ford. So you are correct. There is a component, certainly in this budget. In 2023's budget, we, I think, have about 300,000 that's being covered off with property taxes. The other thing I need to consider is when we talk about full cost recovery, our expectation is that our consumption rates are going to cover off our operating budget. And the desire of administration is that we have the capability to take what we collect on the fixed component and put that into some sort of reserve for infrastructure development. And this is where we currently have a bit of muddy water because we are not able to put as much away of that fixed component into some sort of infrastructure reserve because we are not capturing in our full cost recovery model on the consumption side. So what administration is looking for directionally is, one, firstly, we'd like to understand what model we want to pursue, and then administration can work on that model. So whether it's a tiered approach or whether it's a singular rate approach, then we can determine how we want to manage that. And then the other question administration really would like to understand is, how much do we want to put away into an infrastructure reserve in order to manage what our requirements are going to be 10, 20, 30 years out. So because both of those combined pieces really play a significant part in how we want the rates to look. Because as it stands now, we cannot, from a consumption perspective, based on the tiered rate and the single rate that we have, we cannot cover off our operating budget. So now our ability to put money away into an infrastructure reserve account is really quite limited. And we're on an amortization perspective, we are amortizing over 600,000 a year on our utilities.
That's what we should be doing.
Well, if you could be putting 40% away and then, you know, the opportunity to grant at some point in time down the future. So, you know, 40 or 50% of that would be quite desirable.
I'm going to go to Councillor Martin and then Councillor Clover.
I just remember a while back, a member of the Black Diamond management team, and some of you folks might remember this as well, is that Black Diamond had a healthy sewer reserve to help offset some of the sewer fees. The stormwater was coming out. Stormwater was coming out of sewer.
Can I ask you guys to speak up so that the public can hear us? Thanks.
So, my question is that, asking about the sewer reserve that the town of Black Diamond has, or have, pardon me.
And I don't recall, but I know the stormwater portion was coming out of the sewer.
Would have any of that gone toward, to put aside?
We'd have to check reserve.
Okay. Did any go to West End?
I think we expect this money first.
Yeah. Yes, there was money in it.
I'm going to go to Clerk, and then I have Deputy Mayor. Yeah.
So, what water loss are you taking into effect for these numbers? Because we had a higher water loss with the increase the town's payout, right? We have to pay for that water. So this is current water losses or?
This is current consumption, so the data used on these numbers is what we are running through meters. So what I'm seeing come for water being billed out.
So we're not even counting what we pay to truck.
Yes, so the rate, like the average rate needed is calculated by taking the cost of what we have to pay to Shrek divided by cubic meters that is billed out.
So it's conceivable to believe that as we repair water lines and lower our loss, our numbers will look better.
Your dollar, are you referring to the dollar numbers?
They are
not necessarily, and that would depend on Shrek's costs to, like, their bill to us.
But theoretically, your math is set.
Okay, good.
Yes. Deputy Mayor.
Can I have it? Yes, okay. Thanks, Lisa. This is a lot of work. Appreciate you bringing all these numbers forward to us tonight. I'm going to speak primarily to option 2, full cost recovery, which is the tiered model. But I did want to ask 2 questions for myself and also for those here tonight and also with us online. Water is what we consume. That's what comes out of our taps. Right? Just so that I'm clear on that. Okay. And then wastewater would be what is calculated that comes out of our taps, or is that the black water, like toilet water, wastewater?
It's calculated, it's metered, like calculated based on your metered water consumption.
Yeah, okay, yeah, so that part's a tricky one for me. I know we've heard from quite a few residents about gardening, you're using water outside, so it's not technically going through the pipes. So I struggle a little bit with the wastewater part, especially when the wastewater is more expensive in the option 2 tiered. I know that we can talk about the nuances of that as we kind of work through this. But I guess my biggest thing here, because I'm in support of the tiered model, is that $3.91 for 0 to 23 meters cubed versus over 46 meters cubed at 410. I think that there'd be a lot more incentive for water consumption if we saw that those numbers were quite higher in the later parts versus kind of averaged out in the 3 stages. So we incentivize our residents by saying, hey, we're pro water consumption. So we're going to say 0 to 23 is going to be at $3 versus over 46 might be $5.25. That's something that I'd like to see when it comes to water conservation, because I think that speaks to the residents. If you want to water your garden, I know that washing cars has been a sensitive topic, but if you really want to blow some dollars on washing your car in your driveway, I think that's where you'd really see that over 46 meters cubed come in. So that would be my input on that, and I'm gonna thank you for your work. But that's what I'd be in support of. I like the full cost recovery. I know that it's going to be expensive, but I think that if we can leverage that a little bit more in terms of conservation, I think residents would be more appeased by that. But that's just me speaking.
Okay. I'm going to go to Councillor Kloiber. I'm just looking up Okotoks' rates here, just if anyone wonders what I'm doing on the phone. Councillor Kloiber.
I think it would be helpful to create our goals for the utility rate. It sounds like we're looking for water conservation, full cost recovery, and we want to save for upgrades. I think if we had that just for communication purposes and education front and center, so we could keep it top of mind, it would be easy to communicate to residents. I agree that the expectation for residents is their wastewater fee should be less.
In the summer.
In the summer. I don't know if that's I'm in agreement, but that is what I have heard. I think if we just had all of our points, then we can better come up with the fee studies. Because this was really, I'm sorry, it's really hard to look at. I like to play a game that I only get charged $100 a month, and if I keep my consumption at 15 cubic meters or less for the billing period, then I am at $200 for that billing period. I didn't even do the math, but it's going to be like $300.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
It's not tasty looking.
No.
I got Gordon and I got Thompson.
Yeah.
One of the concerns I have with Deputy Mayor Kelly at the higher end, it's not only just those who use excessive amounts because of X, Y, or Z. What about our homes that have larger families? They're going to be running the washing machines more. They're going to be running the toilets more. They're going to be showering more, all of these things. So what I'd like to see in that before we have that dramatic amount added to the higher end in our public participation is there's some way we can capture the number of individuals per resident. Because I don't want to penalize our larger families because there are more people there that use more water as composed to those people who would quote unquote waste water in certain areas. So I think if we could capture that. It's hard to capture. I'm not sure how to capture that, but I think we as council have to be a little bit cognizant of that, of having that high end build so much. I don't want to penalize our larger families. That's the challenge. The tiered system is very challenging. Like, I support the tiered system, but that's always been in the back of my mind. How do we move forward with that?
Thank you for those comments. Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, I agree. And that's, I agree, Veronica, with the different things that we need to be looking at after. I live on a block of seniors, and I am pretty sure that some of my seniors are having a competition to see who has got the greenest grass. I'm not kidding. And I know one neighbor has commented, I don't care how much it costs me to water my lawn. You know, so we've got those kind of people out there too. So there's no intention whatsoever to conserve water.
Yeah.
So, this is gonna be a big gulp, but one of my questions to staff is, can we take a look at what other communities, similar size communities, are water cost full and find out if they're at full cost recovery? Because that's gonna be the trick here. You know, we wanna go to full cost recovery so that our taxes aren't subsidizing our water and sewer rates. But if we could take a look at, you know, communities in that $6,000 range and see what they're doing, and the key will be to find out if they are full cost, because I had assumed, and I was told that Black Diamond was full cost recovery. And it doesn't sound like we were even close to full cost recovery. I know that Turner Valley wasn't at full cost recovery, but they were at partial cost recovery. So, that question came up several times during council meetings about the full cost recovery, and I would look to see what other communities are doing and if we can ensure that they're at full cost recovery, just to satisfy my own, you know, because I went through a period where Turner Valley and Black Diamond were accused of having the highest rates in the entire province. And that wasn't a pretty scene. And I don't want to be put in that position again. I'd like to find out. So maybe we had the highest rate and we were advertising we were at full cost recovery, but we were not. And so I just don't want to go through that again with our residents. So yeah, so if we can look at that, at least that would be really great.
Okay. I'm gonna go up to Councillor Holiday, dialed in. So Councillor Holiday, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I think there's different definitions of full cost recovery. One is full cost recovery of operating costs, and one is full cost recovery on, you know, capital as well as operating costs. So we have to just, you know, make that distinction and putting away money in reserves. And so, you know, maybe in the past we were full cost recovery, but admin was only talking about operating costs, not on reserves. And so then I think the debate needs to be centered around whether that's more appropriate on the property tax bill. So you have a larger house, larger lot, you know, replacing that infrastructure arguably could be more expensive than somebody living in a condo apartment type house versus, you know, the larger family, you know, with lots of people, you know, but that doesn't necessarily translate into a more expensive house with more expensive infrastructure to replace going into it. So I think we need to have a little bit more debate on that. As far as yeah, I'm undecided. I kind of, you know, obviously businesses need to be treated separately also. And then as far as the tiers go, my comment would be, I think that just the few cent difference is useless.
That'd be a bigger difference.
Yeah, 5 cents.
If we're getting to the other cells, gotta be big.
I'm going to comment, and then I'm gonna go to Hazel, and then I'm gonna go to Heather, and then I'm gonna go to Cloyber. Is that right?
Sure.
So I agree, a tiered system is the way to go. I think the difference is, you know, that's the semantics of what do we want to see and what kind of users are we penalizing? Is it large families who we want vibrantly communicating in the community, or the rich senior who just wants his green grass? So those are the semantics that I don't care for. However, what I think is relevant is how we get there. We know we need to get there. I recall having this debate in Turner Valley years ago when we set some rates. We correlated with Okotoks. We used them as a model. And we were given an option for a 7-year phase to get there, I believe, Corinne, if you recall that. So you might have been before you, but we looked at, let's stretch it out over 7 years. Predict it, let everybody know, look, here's where we need to get there. Here's how we're gonna get there, 8 cents a year. We're gonna climb till we get to the bar. And like Bob Barker's little, mountaineer. Remember that game?
No, it was Brad one.
No, it was a good one. Anyway, that to me is the reality. We need to slowly crawl up to the benchmark. For some reason, both towns have been subsidizing our water use year after year after year. And just everyone's been scared to address the monster in the room. So I think there's no sense having a monster in the room if you can kick them out, get rid of them. So we have a monster, let's deal with them. And let's come up with a solution that actually works, but doesn't, as Michelle Wundergan said, you can't slam us. But we can crawl over time. So I'm in favor of a tiered model. How we get there, that's what I'm looking for when we come back. So I would be looking to say option 2 is a way forward. Let's talk about the strategy of utilizing that at our next meetings leading into budget. That's my comment. I'm going to go to Hazel and Heather and Clover and maybe Cindy. Okay.
My question is also to our Schrock members. Has there been any service review for any of our water testing? And have we applied to AEP to reduce it so that we are somehow reducing some of those testing costs that is going to help us?
Go for it, Heather. I remember this.
We already have reduced costs, and we have made application to further reduce. So, that's in the works. Again, it's got to go through the whole process, so that alone, we don't know.
And how about any application for any grants for the water retake project? Like through your Alberta water and wastewater partnership?
Water intake project?
Yeah.
I think they have applied for grants. We just haven't had them acknowledged, and it's still also going through the Alberta environment process as well. So, Craig might be able to help out on that one.
Yeah, through the chair, Councillor Martin, we have we've been approved for a temporary water diversion license, but it's still, the application is still under review by AEP.
But once that project is up and running, it is going to be starting to save costs. Is that not correct?
I would fail to see why it would save us costs, because all that's doing is allowing us to keep our reservoirs at capacity during more difficult times of the year. It doesn't necessarily reduce any of our other costs.
Okay, because
the treatment of water, the distribution of that water, and then of course the process of waste still costs us the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Heather.
Yeah, and
thanks, Heather.
Yeah, in response also to that, it's the Shrek side of it is a lot different than our distribution systems. That's where we've really fallen behind. And putting money away for that. So water lines, replacing old water lines and sewage lines and stuff like that. That's where maybe one town versus the other has fallen more behind. So we haven't been able to put money away for that and paying for those costs. And, we're going through this whole process of finding leaks, leak detection and all that. And that's going to come back and bite us, because then we're not going to have the money to replace the line, which we've been struggling with for many, many years. So that's the problem when we're looking at this. And I like the tiered system, and I also like the idea of doing it gradually, but that you know, over a period of 7-8 years, man, that's not gonna help us. We
No,
might
we
have to
need to-
bite the bullet and reduce that timeline somewhat, because we've got to start repairing these lines.
Yeah.
So anyway, there I go.
Councillor Clover.
So I did do a water rate comparison. I think it was 2018 because Black Diamond increased their rates and it was a huge uproar in 2017. Anyway, beginning of my first term. So I compared everyone I know in various towns who would send me their water bill, utility bills. So I did Jasper, Sundre, Drumheller, Penhold, Cochrane, Didsbury, Calgary. There were a couple others, and of course, Black Diamond, Turner Valley, Chestermere. So, Black Diamond was the second highest. Chestermere was the worst or most expensive. And Turner Valley was third, as you can see, it's $20 cheaper for the flat rate alone. And this was, 2018, 2019, so a few years ago. So yeah, I don't know, maybe we should contact all these other towns and say, hey, how come your infrastructure is so cheap and
Well,
you're not?
Because one of the reasons is because we're so far behind in doing our replacement,
Well, the flood, yes.
and we haven't been putting money away.
Yeah.
To do it.
So, I mean, there's that. Jasper and Drumheller was most interesting. They do things completely different. But,
So they said it has the same.
yes, and Jasper, that's all. My other thing for your tiered thing, I would love to see a huge difference in
I'm with you.
consumption rates. Because currently, if I want to save 1,000 liters of 1 cubic meter, it's less than $5 in my pocket. So who cares?
On that note, the Okotoks, because I found the Okotoks rates, the Okotoks rate differs from 0.23 to 46 plus. It's more than double.
Yeah,
That's a rate difference.
yeah, a couple cents just isn't.
No, 15, 20 cents is not going to deter Heather's neighbors from overwatering their gardens.
Believe me, it's super cheap. I won't care.
Yeah, well, okay. Okay, so I'm just gonna go down the line here for a second,
Last question.
because I've heard tier 2 full cost recovery is the preferred option. How we get there is the further future discussions, but this is what we'd like administration to actually put some effort into strategizing how we're gonna do it.
Without killing us.
Tiered rate over tiered years.
Right? There you go.
Both of us.
Just get rebates back.
Because that's what they need. They need direction. I'm gonna go to Hazel first. Jonathan, she had her hand up first.
This is maybe more at budget time, and I'd like to also circle back to Michelle on her question. Maybe this would be the time to consider moving to a monthly utility billing. It will help alleviate the financial strain on residents by providing more frequent and manageable payment options. Because if you get a bill for $300, you may put it over to the next month
Get behind.
and get behind real quick, as opposed to doing a monthly. I know it's more work for the staff, but we also have staff.
It's a good thing. So take that away. They can take that away and provide that option when we come back for our next discussion.
So it's
Councillor Gordon, yeah, we can make it available as an option.
You could opt in for monthly perhaps, and then you wouldn't double the workload overnight for now.
Slowly stay.
Yeah.
Councillor Gordon.
Yeah, so maybe this is irrelevant, but is there any reason we only use 3 rates, 3 tiers? It's like, could we expand the tiers and then we can really look to penalize, if we're looking at quote unquote penalize those who use excessive amounts? Did we consider that in the tier 2, expanding the number of tiers that we're looking at?
Remember, we used to have 5 tiers.
I thought we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Council decided.
Yeah. Right.
But I like the idea of 5.
Yeah, same here. Just to,
So
I think then we can maybe find a bit better of a balance for those that have larger families.
So just to sort of wrap it up here, we've got monthly billing as an option. We'd like to see. Tiered. 5 tiers as potential. Comparison to other communities.
Our philosophy of why we're
If I can say that about the comparison though, it would have to identify whether or not those communities are subsidizing through property taxes. And that's what I fear is actually happening.
But at least if we know that answer,
Yeah.
we can do apples to apples.
Yeah.
Because we've been subsidizing.
Oh,
for
it
years.
is.
It was nearly impossible to get a comparison.
Yeah.
Everybody does, it's so different.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
That's the
not
challenge.
too much energy into that. Let's focus on
Yeah.
us. Heather, what was your recommendation?
Well, I'd like to see what other communities they're doing, but like I said, we have to be guaranteed it's full cost recovery. And that's almost impossible, because like I said, I thought Black Diamond was full cost recovery because I was told that, so.
Anything from you?
No, I mean, this is, you know, it's unfortunate that we find ourselves in these circumstances, given the current economy that we're in, but I think the appropriate thing to do is to take our time as we address this and then not hit residents all at once.
Yeah.
I think that's it, yeah.
Cindy, anything you want to recommend as a priority? You did mention business. But I'll leave it up to you. Anything for the takeaway for administration to delve into as they do some more background work on this course?
Yeah, we do obviously have some commercial businesses that use an awful lot of water, so going to full cost recovery would hit them the most. But I just want to just caution you all on the full cost recovery on infrastructure. There is an argument that it is better in property taxes, that it's better suited there rather than on consumption. So I would like to discuss this more before we go to public, like in a committee of the whole or something.
Oh, yeah, for sure. This is just giving direction for administration to do more background work on the preferred design. So option 2 right now.
Yeah, I don't know. As far as, my personal opinion is I'd like full cost recovery on operating annual expenses only. I would like more talk on the infrastructure side. And I would only like a tiered system if it's just a simple 2 tiers over 30 cubic meters for your average resident, and then you get a double hit or something. I think 5 and more complicated, people aren't paying attention to that and they don't care. And 99% of people are in the first tier anyways.
Okay, some good points. Most of that will be delved out through the process. But yeah, definitely bringing it to a committee of the whole with this next salvo. And we should have lots of good information to debate at that time. So, okay, thank you. We're gonna wrap this one off. Can I get Hoiberg?
To accept.
Yep, sure.
Thanks
Another-
for all your work on this. It's really excellent, so,
Continue work.
yeah, and continued work, yeah.
Yeah, we are brushing it off to get through. We're actually going back to this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. All right, we have a motion to accept for information. All in favor?
In favor?
Thank you, Cindy.
Come on, baby.
Okay, I have 11.2 2023 quarterly report. I believe you all got a copy handed out at the beginning of the meeting right here. And I don't know, Vern, if you have anything you can throw on the screen or not. But I will hand it off to our CAO to give us her Coles Notes version update breakdown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is going to be my last quarterly report update. I'm going to be passing it off to my new finance manager, so I'm very excited about that. Having said that, the quarterly update, so I have included some additional documents for this particular quarterly update, which has our RFPs that we currently have out for tender or ones that have we've awarded. As well, I have provided a bit of a capital update. So as you can see from the documents attached, we are currently sitting in a surplus position of 823,000. Of that, a large component of it is in the revenue section, and that's basically there's a variety of reasons why. I have to say we, although the hardship of interest rate increases for individuals, we've heard about that. They have some real favorable aspects for the town because we do have some investments that are gaining us a tremendous interest amount. So whereas if 2 years or 3 years ago, we were at 0.9%. Right now, we are able to get some GIC rates floating up around 5%, and we're pushing even a little bit higher. So that's gonna allow us to capture some additional revenue from our investment side. As well, we've gotten, posted the taxes for the quarter, so they're included in there. And overall, we're seeing a revenue upside for year to date of about 418,000. We also had a land sale that was included in there. Keep in mind that land sale will likely go into a reserve account at the end of the year. So we'll move that over. But that represents the FAR lands that were executed on the Turner Valley side. And then on the expense side, as you can see, our year to date, we are under budget. So the expectation, and you can see, I won't go through all the variance analysis. The expectation is most of that will be utilized come the end of the year. But as we get closer into third quarter and fourth quarter, we'll be able to get a better visibility over. We have some potential savings that we'll be taking into year end. So as of right now, I am not expecting those expenditures to stay perhaps in that large of a favorable variance, but we might be able to recognize some savings. So being our first budget as a new community, there could be puts and takes in there that we'll be able to recognize. So yeah, overall, we're sitting in pretty good spot. I commend the staff for doing a tremendous amount of work. As you can see, and really you can see some of that work coming out in our RFPs and the number of RFPs we have out for tender right now. I have to say, in the few RFPs that finance has been involved in, it is extremely tight, and getting actually firms to bid and post on our tenders has been extremely challenging. And I'm sure Craig can attest to that as well. We are having a hard time getting people to commit to projects. So, but we are going out and we're doing the best that we can. So this is the update. I will field any questions. The capital piece is also included as well as we get into the second half of the year.
Thank you, Councillor Martin.
I have a few questions, and some of them relate to also the fire department. So number 7. Go to our the first quarter variance report, number 7. The 609 Anderson Crescent property is not listed. Was that sold in 2022?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Number 9. Why is there a budget line item for the Black Diamond Fire Station travel and subsistence, but not one for the Turner Valley Station?
So may I address your questions through the chair? So Councillor Martin, there is the possibility that they just don't have a large variance, that it would be noted in the particular report. So I do have to say, and kudos to the fire department, because they have been servicing up north and fighting and being involved in the wildland fires. And we actually get some revenue upside for that. So we have the ability to bill for services rendered. So we, as the year progresses, you'll likely see some upside in our revenue side because of those billings to the province. We get the opportunity to bill out not only their services, but any of our equipment that is going up there. We get a day per diem rate. So you'll see some increases there, but it's likely there just isn't a variance for that fire department.
Okay, and then why is there such a difference in budgets for memberships, conferences, and training for the Black Diamond Fire Station compared to the Turner Valley Fire Station?
What number is this now?
This is number 93.
Yep, still number 9, okay.
Yeah.
So if I may address your question, Councillor Martin. So the Black Diamond Fire Services, they had a number of members that attended a conference. And whereas in the other fire station, we didn't have as many members attend the conference.
Okay. Number 13. Why is the Black Diamond Fire Station vehicle maintenance budget almost double of Turner Valley's? When you're looking at 8,755 for Turner Valley and Black Diamonds is 16,000.
If I may, through the chair, I would have to get back to you on the answer to that question. I'm not quite sure.
Can you please look into that?
Sure, well, yeah.
Because I would think that both both stations have relatively the same maintenance program. And lastly, can you remind me, what is the line item for sustainability? We no longer have that committee. What number is that?
Back on the budget line,
Yeah.
back on page 88.
On the financial results by business unit, we have sustainability and we no longer have that committee.
So if I may, through the chair, there were some allocated costs to the sustainability committee, being that it's their last year.
And what kind of costs would that be?
Mostly, I would have to get back to you on the details on the costs, but I can.
Okay. And just one last question. Have we already spent $100,000 on events? Am I reading this correct? I hope I'm not.
If I may, through the chair, yes, we absolutely have.
Alberta Summer Games.
Between Alberta Summer, and I can certainly support Minik, but through Alberta Summer Games, through our support of the chamber event that's coming up next weekend, through Diamond Valley Days and the parade, and the fireworks, we have absolutely, with those events, they have come to a significant amount.
So we're almost like, so our budget was 124, is that correct? Or 189?
Our budget.
Scroll up to reach the first slide still. Whatever.
So yeah, that's accurate status.
Yes, we don't have a whole bunch left.
We got Christmas to deal with, I think.
Hope Monday, so.
Yeah. Very well done, Hazel. Thank you for that. Any other comments from council before I take the motion from deputy mayor?
And what is the UTV purchase?
UTV or B? Sapphire.
We've got three bids.
Fire station.
Through the chair, Councilor Martin, that's our utility vehicle. So our toolcat was due for replacement. And we felt it was too expensive to replace as another toolcat, as they're $100,000 unit to replace. So we don't really need that particular machine. So we've put out quotes for an RFP or Q for heavy duty UTV. So something considerably less instruction rated to look at. But yes, we have had 3 quotes and we just awarded one.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. CAO Middleton. It really didn't take me that long. I was like, I'm totally lost. My question is, between Black Diamonds and Turner Valley's repurposing of equipment through auction and or other means, what is the present system we are using for, perfect example, disposing of a $100,000 piece of equipment that has now been its life cycle, and it needs to go find a new home? What is the method that we use, and where do we find out how much that particular piece of equipment was sold for?
So through the chair, if I may, I can tell you that for most of our equipment, if we determine that we are going to sell it and not continue to use it, we will go through the government's. They have an area where you can post equipment, usually Craig will do that on behalf of the organization. We have, thus far this year, we've sold the old Crown Vic, which we actually did pretty well on it, I might add. But most of the time, if there's anything that we're going to be deemed that we no longer require, we will take it to auction and see what kind of value we can get.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. Okay. Excellent. Any further comments before Deputy Mayor? Deputy Mayor,
Motion to accept this information.
thank you, sir. All in favor?
In favor.
Thank you, Cindy. And that is carried. And
Correspondence.
you want to hit it?
Right there.
Hit it from.
Yeah, we've got correspondence, one from the Minister of Municipal Affairs, the Honorable Minister McIver, and yeah, good news from him too. Very good news from him. And then the report from STARS, the Ally Impact Report, and those are for your bathroom reading.
Excellent. Just the one comment before I give you a motion to accept correspondence for information. It is fabulous to see Minister McIver back in the chair of municipal affairs. We have a great relationship with him, and it's good to know that we can have a one-on-one with our minister and get an honest answer when we need it.
And if I may, he wasn't even the Minister of Municipal Affairs and he came to the amalgamation celebration.
Yeah.
Which was really cool.
Yeah.
I thought that's great.
We like the last one too, but he's good.
Oh, no, yeah, no, Rebecca was great. Just
Rebecca.
Yeah.
Okay, I gave the motion to accept for information. All in favor? That's carried, and we are adjourned. Thank you, members of the public, for coming tonight. Appreciate it. And Cindy, enjoy your holiday. You may leave.
Corinne, enjoy your holiday.
Thanks. Have a good
See you,
night.
Cindy. Is she?
Thanks, admin.
Yeah, right out.